Hi, this is Carl from Linguagenesis. This is the second part of the discussion entitled First Impressions of Language Learning. Now, in the first part, I discussed the fact that over the last few years or so, maybe during the first decade of the 21st century, a number of primary schools have introduced after-school clubs or implemented language learning into the primary curriculum. However, I did mention the many advantages of the after-school club, to which children aged between 4 and 11 years of age are invited, the excuses which parents give and which enable their children to stop at school for 1 hour longer than usual, the fact that other children attend because their friends are attending, and then I spoke about the complications and the difficulties for the teacher to actually differentiate the learning depending on the sub-age group of the children within the classroom situation, for example, the 4 to 6 year olds, the 7 to 8 year olds, and the 9 to 11 year olds. I mentioned that these clubs were generally parent funded, although they were given Ofsted inspections, but the teacher was granted minimal pay and would therefore not really be glad to receive pressures from parents transferred then to the school, and then which the school would transfer onto the teacher, demanding for differentiation to be implemented, since that can cause extra work and preparation for the school teacher. On the one hand, that is an option which the class teacher could use, but on the other hand, he or she may be in a situation whereby he or she decides to teach the class together, but obviously that can be to the detriment of the younger end actually abandoning the after-school club, or the older end abandoning the after-school club, because that wide age range learns very differently. They all cope with different levels of explanation, and they all take to particular classroom activities in a different way. So if this reality is causing children to abandon language learning at such a young age, then that negativity is going to stop with them as they get older. I then also spoke about the selfish motives of the teacher, of the head teacher, should I say, who often decides which language it is will be studied by school children, and more often than not this is French, because the only reason for that decision is that French is more than likely going to be the language which they will be taught in secondary school, because there are more French teachers. I also spoke about the topic-based learning for children within the primary education sector, although it's often the case that children will take more to languages if the content is entertaining, is inspiring, rather than topic-based. And I also mentioned that the curriculum is expecting too much of our primary school children in terms of being able to speak at length and very fluently about such things as daily routines. It's not possible in light of the amount of time on a weekly basis within the primary education sector which children have to studying or learning one foreign language, as there are other subjects on the curriculum which require their attention. We have the same situation in secondary schools. We have a topic-based learning scenario. The grammar of the language is taken in isolation. There is very little integration between the topics being studied, the grammar of the language, and any psychological tips which teachers can give as regards aiding the students to develop some kind of confidence and some kind of fluency as far as the language is concerned. And that's what it's all about. It's all about the psychological skills which enable us to speak with confidence, to speak fluently, rather than actually just simply saying this word or this phrase translates into English as follows. This is the kind of situation which pervades so many secondary schools. The fact that language is merely taught on the basis of set topics, phrases become inextricably linked with a certain topic. There's very little opportunity for the children to speak. Many of them actually don't want to learn a language at all. The teacher has to divide the amount of time which he or she has to the delivery of a set topic amongst so many children, let's say between 28 and 35 children within a classroom situation, there's also minimal time in which to teach the content of the curriculum. You also have disruptions, you have explanations, you have talking, and you also have to cope with the time it takes to actually settle the classroom and its pupils down before you can actually begin the session. Furthermore, the government has not really shown any further interest in sustaining language learning within schools. It's no longer an obligatory option, nor is it compulsory anymore within the primary education sector. And as I say, there's generally more reading and writing exercises rather than actually integrating those skills with speaking and listening, which is what the majority of us need when we're actually speaking or learning a modern foreign language. We'll speak far more and we'll listen far more than we'll need to ever read something or write something. So the focus is actually on the wrong skills in the majority of instances. Furthermore, you have, as I say, too much isolation between the topics, between the learning of the grammar. You'll see, for example, in school pupils' exercise books, verb tables in isolation with no other language surrounding them. There's an absence of contextualization. There's no putting the verbs, for example, or the grammar into context, whether it be in writing something down, translating something, or actually speaking something, actually carrying out dialogues with other pupils. That mixed with this general element of languages aren't necessary in schools, the fact that the majority of people don't want to do them, I think it's all part and parcel as well of the general lack of ability of the teacher to promote, to research, to develop a thorough understanding of the psychological skills which are necessary to get children speaking a language. But even in addition to that, you have an awareness, and many people, even school pupils, will be aware of the fact that nearly everybody out there in the world speaks English, so the reality is, why do I need to bother to learn another modern foreign language when another foreigner is going to just speak to me in English and I can answer in English back? There's no development of the appreciation and awareness or the appreciation of the delight which foreigners receive when someone speaks their own language anymore. And it seems to be just a case of, as far as teaching in schools is concerned, it's knowledge, it's general knowledge, rather than actually being part of a wider learning experience. The language learning itself takes place within the classroom situation, within the four walls of the classroom, and there's little appreciation of just how language is realistically used in the outside world, communicating with native speakers in a wide variety of situations, and as the phrase goes, it's far too schoolboy type learning. I'll continue the discussion in part 3, where I'll be focusing mainly on learning a modern foreign language in FE colleges for the post-16th century and also for adults, and also just recapping on some of the points which I've made in this video as well.